regardless of what your break looked like, whether you went far, far away or stayed close to home or did something in the middle, whatever it was, I hope that you had a great break. I would ask you to please put your phones away. I don't want to see them at all for the rest of the day today. Okay? If you need something or you have a concern, then you can let me know. Otherwise, they should be away. We are now in the home stretch, as I feel like it always happens in the year. I don't know if it feels this way in middle school or in junior high, so I just want to put it out there because most of you are just starting your first year of high school to let you know that often the way it feels when you're in high school is that once you hit spring break, then the rest of it just flies right on by. I think it's because the weather's good, we see the end in sight and all of that. So I want to give you that piece of positive news, right, that we are making good progress. But I also want to let you know that just because the weather's getting nice and because we're moving into that spring sports time and that, spring play and all of that, that doesn't mean that it's time to turn your brains off. We've got lots of good science to do yet and lots of good stuff just kind of in general. It's going to happen all of the springs, okay? So, yeah, in whatever way, I am glad to see you guys back and see your smiling faces and bright eyes and bushy tails. I'm sure that everybody's feeling wide awake this morning. I know I bounced out of bed, this morning, ready to go. So we're going to make it work. It'll be great. We are going to start. I see a number of you have pulled out your purple sheets already, which is awesome. I would like you to pull out that purple sheet from the movie that we watched the day after tomorrow. If for whatever reason you don't have it, okay, what I'd like you to do is pull out a piece of blank paper because we're going to start with just a couple of minutes of visiting the last page of that sheet. So I had asked you at the end of the day, 2 Fridays ago now, I had asked you to fill out that back sheet, the 4th page that has the thing about global warming in the atmosphere. Now, I know you guys pretty well. We've met and chatted for a few times together. And so I anticipated that some of you may not have finished that. So I'm throwing you a bone because I am going to collect this sheet, but I'm going to give you a couple of minutes right now to get started. Okay. This copy is actually from a different version, so it doesn't look quite the same, but I'll tell you what is different. Okay. I would like for you to make sure that you have this chart filled out. Now I want to be clear. You do not have to do research for this chart. It says at the top, in the chart below are listed some possible ways of generating alternative energy. Now, before you start writing, before you start ignoring me, I would like for you to stay with me for just a second because I want to make sure that you know what this phrase is. Alternative energy. What is an alternative? Kind of a funny word to define, but what is an alternative? What does that mean? Yeah. I totally cut you off. Another option-ish. Can I take the ish off and just write that? Yeah. Alternative means another option. So alternative energy would be another option for energy. And what alternative are we offering options instead of? Please put your pencils down for just a second so that I know that you're listening to me right now. Unless you were writing down another option. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. What are we offering an alternative to? Exactly. Okay. So we are trying to come up with an option, an alternative to fossil fuels. Okay. You know, because we've talked about it for a number of times now, okay, that humans have kind of screwed things up, right? Have we gotten that kind of in our heads already? Humans kind of messed some stuff up. How did they do that? What did we do? And I'm not blaming you, but as a species, what did we do that screwed some stuff up as it relates to fossil fuels? Chris, is that your hand up? No? Do you guys need a minute to get your brains back into the game here? Yeah? Why don't you talk at your tables real quick? What do we do to screw stuff up? Talk to each other right now. Go, go, go. It's been a while. All right. So what'd you say? Go. How did the humans screw it up, friends? Rory, how did the humans screw it up? What idea? What's that? Okay, so yes. Yes. Okay, so here we go. So the humans led us to some greenhouse gases and some CO2 and other. Okay, there's something in the middle though. Where did those greenhouse gases and CO2 come from that the humans caused? That the humans produced? Where did it come from? Say that a little louder. We burned some carbon in the form of what, friends? Fossil fuels, right? Do you remember we did that carbon cycle thing like forever ago with those little pom-poms? Do you remember that? Hayden remembers. What were you in that? Do you remember, Hayden? You're like passing pom-poms around? You were the humans. Oh. So before you became human, everything was good, right? Do you remember this? The carbon just moved around and it moves and it's supposed to. And then Hayden showed up. I forgot you were one of the humans. And what did you discover?
Like we sped up the process.
Yes. Because of what? What did you have that sped up the process?
Carbon.
You had carbon in the form of fossil fuels, right? So the humans discovered those fossil fuels. And those fossil fuels in and of themselves, write this down if you don't know this, friends. This is stuff that at this point in our time together should be second nature to you. You should know this. Now, if you don't, I'm giving you the opportunity right now, right? I'm giving it to you. So the humans found the fossil fuels, and not only did they find them, what did they do to them? They burned them. Yeah, they burned those fossil fuels. And burning those fossil fuels let off a bunch of what into the atmosphere? What is it? Carbon dioxide, right? They burned the fossil fuels, added a bunch of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So what? What do those greenhouse gases do, friends? This is what we quizzed over right before break. Can you pull that down so I can see your mouth so I can hear you better? The greenhouse gases protect us? For sure they do, right? Do you remember if we don't have greenhouse gases, we don't live? Be sad. It'd be really, really hot during the day, really, really, really cold at night. So absolutely they protect us. Now, I'm gonna jump on that and take it, okay? So you just said the greenhouse gases were good. If the greenhouse gases are good and we burn fossil fuels and that burn fossil fuels that's more greenhouse gases, what's the problem? But you just told me greenhouse gases are good.
Too much of anything can kill you.
That's not wrong, right? We have the right amount of greenhouse gases prior to all those burned fossil fuels. Too much of anything. And in this case, the anything is what? Greenhouse gases. What do greenhouse gases do? How do they kill you? What do they do, friends? What do greenhouse gases do, friends? Jackson, is that your hand up in the air?
Yeah.
What you got?
Well, it traps heat in.
Yeah. Heat near the surface of the earth, right? And that leads to global warming. Or we could say extreme climate, right? Okay. So what was the point of that? Well, to kind of remind us of all this stuff, but also to then frame this question. So hopefully prior to spring break, I convinced you that just burning fossil fuels, not sustainable for us, right? Because it's just going to keep bringing the amount of greenhouse gases up, going to keep increasing our temperatures, and that will be the end of us and everything else that's living on this planet, at least in this way. So we need an alternative. I gave you 5 alternatives here. The task is for each of these to try and think of advantages and disadvantages to each. Now, do you need to do research for this? No. I just want you in your head, based on what you know, to come up with some advantages and disadvantages. And this one was not tidal. This one was biofuels, right? Would somebody be willing to read, for those of you that don't have the sheet in front of you, what does it say under biofuels? Somebody do that for me. Go, friend. Sorry. Go ahead.
Any liquid fuel derived from biological materials such as trees, agricultural waste, crops, or grass. It can be produced from any carbon source that can be replenished rapidly, such as plants. Bro, chill out.
Okay, so biofuels are fuels that are derived from plants or animals. That's like the short version of the thing that Colin just read. All right, 3 minutes. If you have not yet filled this out, fill it out. If you have filled it out, I want you to take a look through them. See if you can come up with any other advantages or disadvantages, okay? Go. This is you and your brain. You're not conversing yet. You will soon, but not quite yet. Oh, and by the way, don't just look at somebody else's paper and write down what they have. I want this to be from your brain, okay? From your brain and from your experience. Okay? Now that you have that filled out, I would like for you to pull out your capture questions. So either the same page that you've had all of your other capture questions on, or if you're ready to start a new page and just want to start fresh after spring break, pull out a new piece of paper. That's absolutely fine as well. Okay? So on a piece of paper, for your capture question for today, you're going to leave that chart out because you're going to need it. The reason that we did all of this up front was to give you an opportunity to make a commitment, to make a choice. Whoop. So the question is, which of the 5 that you had on your chart in front of you, okay, which alternative energy source do you feel is the best to replace or at least reduce our dependency on fossil fuels? Okay? Not only do I want to know which one, though, and perhaps more importantly, I would like to know why you think it's the best choice to reduce our dependency. Okay? So in your capture question, there is not one right answer, friends. So I don't want you to hedge. I don't want you to not write something down. Every person is going to write down this question and write down an answer. Okay? There is not a wrong answer. Any of the 5 that you have on your chart is absolutely valid. So pick one of them, identify it, and then tell me why. I'd like to discuss this with you a little bit. So I went around, I was just kind of chatting with people, and it sounds like we have lots of different options. So I just want to throw out there just so we can kind of see where people are at. If you chose, oops, go away, thing. If you chose, anybody choose wind? Anybody say wind?
Jackson.
Yeah? Jody, why did you pick wind?
It's easy and it doesn't harm the earth.
Absolutely. Are you guys listening? That was a perfect answer. Wind is easy. It does not harm the earth, right? There's no carbon footprint with wind because the wind just blows, right? Absolutely. Who picked hydroelectric? I know there were a few of you out there that said hydroelectric. Yeah? I'm not gonna call on you. Did you say hydroelectric as well? Yeah, good for you. I think what you say hydroelectric.
Hydroelectric, because since the earth is mainly made up of water, it makes it a lot easier to have access to what we need to have the energy.
Yeah, there's a lot of water, right? There's a lot of water on Earth, so for sure. All right, biofuels. I heard a couple people say biofuels. Yeah. Plants grow fast. And that's what we need to get, right? That's what we need to get to produce that energy? Absolutely. Absolutely. Raise your hand if you said solar. There were a couple of you. All right. Zach, why'd you say solar? You just picked one and that was sounded like the best one? Does anybody have a good reason they picked solar? Lily? Yeah?
I think it's because it's constant, and so like you don't really, it's not really constant, but like for most of the day it's there, and so you don't really have to. There's no like other like resources you have to use other than the sun.
It's just there, right? You don't have to grow plants. You don't have to harness the like it's there. The sun is there, right? Absolutely, for sure. And say it out loud.
Nuclear.
Nice. Yes. Now I will. The reason I'm so excited is that we had a conversation over there while you guys were discussing about the word nuclear. Say it with me. Nuclear.
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 Yes. There are people out there, friends.
It is that hard.
Shh. No, and the reason I'm telling you this, because some of you are making fun of it, there are a lot of people that say it wrong, and it is super embarrassing. And I do not want you to be embarrassed by this. Do you understand? The way that some people say it, including a former president of ours, they say nuclear. The word nuclear is not a word. Like it isn't. It doesn't mean anything. It just makes you sound ridiculous. So I want you to sound smart and informed. Hold on a second. So I want you to say it with me one more time. Just look at it. It says nuclear. Nuclear.
Nuclear.
Question.
Who was the president that said it?
You can look it up. I don't want to get into politics. I just want to tell you that I want you to sound, because Aiden, if you become president,
Yeah, I'm gonna become president.
or when you become president,
Oh boy.
I don't want, while you're sitting in the Oval Office talking about all of these alternative energies, I don't want to have to watch this and then hear you say nuclear incorrectly, because I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I was his science teacher, right? Like everybody calling me like, hey, he was your student in science. I'd be like, I know, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, if for no other reason, do it for me, because I don't want to be embarrassed. Fair? All right. What's that? Probably, yes. I've not done the research. All right, my friends. Scientists, I need your attention up here, please. Speaking of presidents, we are going to approach the next step kind of like a very unique thing to Iowa. And that is that when we are starting the presidential selection process in Iowa, we have the very first in the nation, what, do you know? Caucuses. How many of you have been to caucuses with your family at some point? Anybody? Yeah. I would absolutely be happy to. Let me explain it. Shh. Because one of the great things about being in Iowa is that we have the opportunity to put in a lot of voice into the presidential selection process. If you've never been to a caucus, let me tell you how it works. There's a lot of meeting, talk, blah, blah, blah. The exciting part is when people split up into sections based on who they're supporting, okay? And so the way it generally works is that people kind of share who they're representing, kind of like we just did, and share a couple of things about why you might support that, kind of like we just did. And then they spread out in the room into the people that are supporting each person in this case, or in our case, each alternative energy source. And then we kind of look and see how things are going. And then we give each group an opportunity to advocate a little bit more and see if we can get more people to come to that group. Okay? Now, the purpose of ours is not to determine the best energy source. Okay? but it's to get good representation. The purpose of a caucus is to choose the best candidate, right? So it's a little bit of a different purpose. Okay? So that's what we're going to do right now. I would like for you to leave all of your stuff where it is. The only thing, hold on, wait. The only thing you need to take is your body. Like, leave your papers, leave your pencils, leave everything with you. Okay? If you, once I tell you to go, then you're going to move. If you support wind, I want you to come sit here. Don't move yet until we're good. Wind is going to go there. Hydroelectric is going to go behind where Brendan is sitting. Does that make sense? Hydroelectric. Biofuels is going to be right up here. Solar is going to be back behind Connor. Nuclear is going to be right there. Don't take your stuff, just take your body. Go. We are in the process of getting toward a little project. Now, I'm going to split you into some groups in order to do this project. You guys are going to be a pair. You're going to go alone. And I'm going to count off. Hold on a second. Let me pause this here. So, the next thing that you're going to do with your partner is that I would like for you to think with your partner about why you chose that thing. I'm going to show you a list here of value statements. Now, you have seen this list before. I want to remind you where you saw this list before. Way back at the beginning of the year during trimester 1, we did a bug list project, if you were here, right? We thought about some problems in the world, and then you had to come up with a solution, and you did a little presentation. Does that sound a little bit familiar? And part of the project was identifying a value statement. So anytime that you're going to do anything, anytime you're trying to solve a problem, the goal is to identify what value does that solution provide. So there are some different choices here. Usability means that your solution makes it easier to go through a certain process. Oops, accessibility got kind of stuck in there. Hold on just a second. See if I can get this to go. There we go. Accessibility means that your solution allows more people to access a certain benefit. Skipping a few just to kind of see. Cost reduction. Your solution solves a problem in a more cost-effective way. Scientific advancement. Your solution involves a new way of doing things. I want you to look at this whole list, and I want you to talk to your partner or partners about which of these value statements aligns most with or reflects most the reason that you chose the alternative energy that you chose. Question?
You want to have a certain amount of number?
I'd like you to have one, and if you're between two, then you can identify two, but no more than two. Okay? So go ahead and talk to your partners right now, or partner or partners, about which of these value statements matches your choice. Okay? Do it.
Probably not scientists.
So friends, right on that sheet that you have in front of you, that pink sheet that I just gave you, I would like for you to put your name at the top. Okay? And then we'll read through this in a minute, but down towards the bottom of the front, I would like for you to write down right now so you don't forget your renewable resource choice. So that would be solar or hydroelectric or nuclear or whatever it is. Go ahead and write that down right here. Okay? And then just below that, in that space that's kind of there, you don't need your computer out right now, sweetheart. Can you put it right? Thank you. Okay? Right below that, I want you to write down the value statement that you chose so that you remember it, so that you've got it. So write down the word or words and then the thing behind it as well. So if you chose accessibility, Then underneath solar, or whatever it was you chose, you're going to write accessibility. Does your solution allow more people to access the certain benefit? Okay? So then write that value statement down so you got it. So you should have 2 things written down. So right below where you wrote down nuclear, tell me your value statement.
Yeah.
Social benefit.
Social share.
Innovative.
So friends, I would like to have your attention up here for just a moment so that I can go through a couple of things with you, okay? This is going to be a most of the week long project, and I want you to know that it's going to be big like that. And by that I mean that you're going to stay focused like that. So let's take a look at what this is saying. It says the challenge. You and your partner or partners are scientists that have been instructed to find ways to solve the energy crisis that's being faced by, it says the US, I would say the world, right? This is a global problem, not just a problem here in the United States. It will be up to you and your team to research, design, and teach others about an alternative form of energy that can be used safely, okay, to meet the energy demands of the population without further damaging the environment. You're going to conduct research, and you will, gentlemen, please, create a poster, and we'll talk about what that's all going to look like tomorrow. I don't want to give you too much in one moment, okay? To teach others about alternative and renewable energy sources. You notice the next piece here. You will then be using your persuasive speaking skills. You are now in charge of convincing the rest of us that your source of energy is better than the current fossil fuels. Okay? You need to sell it. You need to convince us. And we will talk a little bit more about how and why you can do that, okay, as we go. The following information will be included on your poster. The first is the value statement. That's what you guys have just figured out. Okay, so that's the first thing that you just did. How does it work? Where does it come from? How is it made by nature? And then include, and this is the part that's important, and I want you to listen to this, because I am going to grade these in a very intense way, okay? I want to know how the energy source is converted to electricity. I want you to include a picture or a diagram. If you're in charge of solar energy, and on Friday when you come up here, you say the energy comes from the sun, it hits a solar panel, and it's converted into electric energy, you will not get any points for that. Because we all know that already. I want you to dig in and figure out how it works and why it works. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It is up to you to figure that out. Okay? You might want to circle or mark on your paper right now the picture or diagram thing. Okay? You will absolutely want to have some sort of picture on your poster. Okay? It says to state at least 2 advantages and disadvantages. You have to admit that everything has a disadvantage. There are disadvantages to everything. Next to this, I would encourage you, in fact, I'm going to ask you to write down state and explain. Okay? State and explain 2 advantages or disadvantages. And then you're also going to state 2 disadvantages of at least one other energy source. So you're going to do that as a sales tactic, really, right? We should use nuclear power because some other energy source, blah, 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 blah. right? You want to explain why your choice is best. And then, this says, is this a good source of alternative energy for Iowa? Just because it is or is not does not mean that your choice is right, but I want you to bring it back. I want you to talk about whether it's used in Iowa, whether it could be used in Iowa. Okay? Some of them yes, some of them no. Depends on the source. Okay? And then put big stars by this. You need to include citations. We will talk tomorrow about how to collect those citations so that you do it well. Okay? One recommendation, don't wait until the end to get your citations. I don't know if that's happened to you before. It's painful and terrible. Don't do that. Okay? Hold on just one second. I want to look at this really quickly with you. The timeline. Today I introduced the project to you and we selected teams. Tomorrow and Wednesday we'll be doing research. In that, I will probably also start off with some information about how to research. And then on Thursday, how to get your presentation ready. We'll be presenting Thursday and Friday of this week. Okay? Is that making sense? Tuesday, Wednesday, it's going to adjust a little bit. Because we did a little bit more than we had kind of on the calendar for today. Okay? Before you go, 2 things that you need to know. Number 1, bring your Chromebook tomorrow. Make sure it's charged. Ready to go. Number 2, I need your purple sheets in my basket before you go. Okay? I need your purple sheets in my basket before you go.
What if you missed it?
If you missed it, then I would hold on to it and get them figured out and then
It's about the movie.
figure out a way to figure it out.
Sure.
Okay?
My name on it?
Sure.
What?